In today's silliness, it's time to clean out the bilge. I bust some moves, and we ask the question, is this enough car shampoo? Now then, and welcome to the video. As ever, I'd like to say a big thank you to all you likers, watchers and subscribers. And we're especially grateful to those of you who take time out of your busy lives to have a say on the things that we get up to. And if you've got out to say, or you've got some questions or even suggestions for things we can do on the channel, why don't you stick them in the comment box wherever YouTube's put it this week, and I'll do my very best to get back to you. Before we start today's video, I've got a bit of a favour to ask of you. We've got some friends on this channel, and that's Rob and Carol, and they've started their own YouTube channel. They're on the Lancaster Canal at the moment, and their channel's called Narrowboat Liberty. It's just a lot of information on what they've done, how they've come to be on the canal, and also a bit about their very interesting lives. Oh, and don't forget Tilly the dog. So if you've got a bit of time and you fancy it, why not check them out? I'll stick a link to their channel in the description box below. Thanks very much. Okay, so what's in today's video? Well, I'll take you through how a little leak on my bulletproof yet fragile BMC engine led from one job to another. Let's crack on. So, here's the issue we've got. As you can see, I've got water in the bilge, and I suspect that it's coming from that little bit there. Every time I've put my hand underneath it, it's drippy and wet. It's not looking in the best of shape, so we're going to try and get it off without damaging it all. I don't know what actually half of that does there, but we'll give it a good shot. So I've stripped this section out. This was what was leaking, I think, here. This seems, although inside it's pretty grotty, doesn't seem to be leaking anywhere else on there. I'm going to have to find out if I can get any of these boots. But that was the offending article. It looked a bit loose and a bit grotty. So I've cleaned all that up, put it back on, tied it up. I'm going to put it back together and we'll fill her up again and see how we do. So there you are, she's all back together again now. I had to cut a little piece of that bottom hose off. There seems to be a drip coming from somewhere, but I can't actually find it at the minute, so we'll keep on looking. But so far, so good. Here's our engine bay, full of all coolanty water and oily water, and just up there is our weed hatch. Got to get in there soon, but not today. You can see there just where my head is that I had all my pipes and pumps out and various stuff. I've got loads of them. I was trying to suck the water out because I thought, oh, that'll be quicker. I've got a bilge pump as well, but it's like a rapid fire thing. It just empties everything out really quickly, so it's difficult to catch the water if there's a lot. So I've gone back to the best method I've found, which is a good old trusty mop and bucket. Always good to have a little knee pad. My poor old knees don't like them hard surfaces no more. It's just a cheap extendable mop I got from Home Bargains. I got the bucket there as well. When I'm done with it, I usually clean out the bucket and put the mop in a plastic bag with a nappy in there and store it all in the engine bay. Placing that bucket is quite difficult. I have managed to figure out a place where to put it now after I did the first one and dropped most of it back into the engine bay. It's a bit of a nightmare, that. As you can also see, there's stuff everywhere in that engine bay. I really need some ideas on how I can store things properly. Just seem to end up moving stuff about most of the time. Basically, as you can see, I'm just poking the old mop into the area that's wet and then squeezing it out into the bucket afterwards. It's that simple. I also use some nappies which are in the bag on the right hand side there for mopping up any little bits left at the end that I can't mop out. I've got water and oil in 3 of the areas in the bilge. One of them's under the stern gland, that's the bit I'm just mopping now. The other one is the engine area, and the last area is where the skin tank's positioned, just on the other side of the engine. All quite fiddly to get to. So I just keep on mopping, keep on squeezing out that water till it's all gone, and then hopefully none of it will come back. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to all that stuff I got out of the bilge? Well, some of it got poured into one container and clearly marked with coolant, and some got poured into another container and clearly marked with oil. Both the containers are sealable, so none of it escapes and falls into the canal or onto the towpath. Now, I know a couple of you will want to ask, where did I get rid of all this stuff that I got out of the bilge? Well, I went onto my local recycling centre website and they told me exactly what I could and could not dispose of there, and luckily mine did both. So the oil and the coolant went there. I'm not entirely sure what they do with this stuff once it's put in there. I'm assuming they clean it or do something with it. I'll have to find out. I think that's enough for you watching me clean out our bilge. Let's speed it up a bit, eh? Now, as I was cleaning out the bilge, I noticed there was a crack on this area here. And look, the trusty pointy screwdriver pencil shows you exactly where the problem is. Look at that. I've spoken to Dave from Narrowboat Changing Pace. He's a welder by trade, so he knows exactly what I can and can't do, and he reckons it's probably best to put a new part on. Cleaning it all off and re-welding it could lead to the weld actually being porous, and when a weld's porous, it lets a lot of water in and it rusts a lot quicker. So I think this thing's a flange of some sort. I'm looking forward to searching for that on the internet. Now, all this cleaning of the bilge spurred me on, along with the weather, to start a good old spring clean. Look at his cheery face there. Yeah, he's all ready to crack on and get that roof cleared of all the stuff, rubbish and ropes, roof boxed a lot, and then give it a good old scrub. I haven't done it for a long while actually, and she's starting to look a bit tired and a bit grotty. There we are. That solar panel has to be lifted up. Underneath there is the patch that I stripped off last year. I've not had much time to do anything else. The weather's been bloody awful for most of the winter, so I've not got a right lot done. And we're being busy at work because I've got to save up for things like new engines, and it's got to be black this year with a bit of luck. Maybe we'll do it this year. All depends on how much that engine costs, really, doesn't it? There we go. So everything's got to come off, and then I can start the cleaning. This is a cracking little mooring spot. It's up by Bridge 130. That's just before Capernwray. And we stopped here for a couple of weeks so we could get some jobs done, like the engine, and also to give her a clean. Now, for all of you asking, I don't know why we keep those little bits of wood on the roof there. I think it's the wife's romantic idea of burning seasoned timber, but I don't think we'll ever get around to it. Over the top of two of the vents, I forget what the name of them is. The two vents in the roof, and they've got like a light patch in them. They leaked quite a lot, so what I've tended to do is put over the top of them some, that was a pot, a clay pot that goes over the top, and on the other one I've got an old frying pan, actually came with the boat, that. And that stops light coming in, and also helps when it rains. It doesn't let the water in either. I should renew them really, because they are a bit knackered. I'm going to do my strongman impression now, getting this thing off the roof. It was quite heavy.
I've no idea, probably since I did the box. Oh, that's very heavy. But I'm strong like a bull. Right, we're ready to start washing.
I'm using car shampoo for this clean. I would normally just use one of those waterless wash and waxes, but because she's got a bit of mould and a bit of muck and grease and all sorts on that roof, then I'm going to have to give her a proper clean. I'm also using one of those big brushes. It's got a hose attachment thing, but because we're on a narrow boat and we only have a limited amount of water, I'm not going to be using the hose pipe on this one. If I was at a water point, I might think about it, but we don't want to waste too much water. We'll just use the old-fashioned method of throwing a bucket of water on it afterwards. That bucket there, it's a bit of a posh one. I got a bit overexcited in Alfred's one time, and I bought that bucket. It cost about 15 quid, but it also has a grit guard, what they call a grit guard. So you just plonk it in the bottom, and it just keeps your brush from going to the bottom of the bucket and picking up any grit or anything like that, which tends to scratch the surface. Mind you, I don't think it really matters on that roof too much because it's already pretty scratched. I've been rubbing it down for the past 6 months. For any really stubborn bits, I'm using a little stiff scrubbing brush. It's a little hand one that felt a bit tummy, so I'm going to have to glue that back together. But that just gets all the last bits of grease and everything off. The problem with having a boat is when you get on the other side, you're hanging over the edge of the water. Only takes one slip and you tipple in. Well, you've had enough of watching me do that. Let's speed her up a bit. Now, after I'd done all that, I decided that I'd get the T cut out and see if it would make any difference to the paintwork on the boat. And it certainly looks like it does. That was just after one quick go over. It took me about 15 minutes or so. And you can see there what a difference it makes. I've just got to figure out which polish to use on top of it because it's ended up going a bit patchy. If any of you have got any hints or tips on how I can care for the paintwork a bit better on Laura, drop it in the comment box. Now, before you all rush off and do something that's far more important than watching this video, let's answer that question we asked right at the beginning of this video. Is this enough car shampoo? That extra splash just makes all the difference. There we are. Isn't it amazing how one little job leads into a rake of others? And talking of jobs, I've got a list as long as my arm to get through. So I best get on with it, but not before letting you know what's coming up next time. Here's a sneaky peek. Cape and Rayon. Oh, we're finally going to film it. If you've made it this far, well, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed it, why don't you give it a thumbs up? Subscribe if you want to see more. And if you click that little bell icon, YouTube will mither you next time we release one. Well, that's just about everything on my list. I reckon we'll call it a draw for this one. Till next time.